Hello friends, welcome back to OK Java. Guys, we'll continue with the Professional Scrum Master Practice Test. Alright guys, let's begin the video. So guys, we'll talk about Product Owner quiz first. Okay. Alright guys, the very first question. The main accountability of the product owner is to maximize the value of the product by verifying the work the developers do. Option B, optimize the value of the work the Scrum team performs. Option C, check that the Scrum team understands the items in the product backlog. The main accountability of the product owner is to optimize the value of the work the Scrum team performs. Okay. The Scrum Guide 2020 explains the product owner is accountable for maximizing the value of the product resulting from the work of the Scrum team. Optimizing and maximizing have the same meaning in this context. Okay, so the main accountability of the product owner is to optimize the value of the work. Question 2. The product owner may delegate architectural decisions regarding the product to the rest of the Scrum team. Guys, you have to pay attention here. The product owner may delegate architectural decisions. False, because developers only make the architectural decisions. It is not the responsibility of the product owner to delegate this task to the developers. How the product is built is the responsibility of the developers. So the product owner cannot delegate this responsibility. Alright. Question 3. If the workload should require this, the product owner accountability can be shared by 2 or more persons. Option A, true as long as it is not a group or a committee. Option B, true because product owners can delegate work. Option C, false as the product owner can only be one person. So guys, in Scrum, product owner can only be one person. There cannot be two persons or a committee of people as a product owner, right? So the Scrum Guide 2020 is very explicit about this aspect. The product owner is one person, not a committee. Alright. Question 4. What does the product owner, product backlog, sprint backlog, developers, all of the above? None of the above. So the product owner manages the product backlog. The product owner manages the product backlog. As the Scrum Guide version 2020 explains, the product owner is also accountable for effective product backlog management. Alright guys. Next, question 5th. Which of the following is not impacted by product backlog that is outdated or unclear? Which of the following is not impacted by a product backlog? Scrum team, stakeholders, organization, all of the above, none of the above. So you guys, you see here, which of the following is not impacted? So for example, if there is a problem with the product backlog, Scrum team, stakeholders, organization, all will be impacted. But the question is, which of the following is not impacted? So none of the above. Due to this lack of transparency, everyone is impacted. The product owner must ensure that the product backlog is visible, transparent, ordered, and clear to all. Alright. Next, question 6. The product owner can also be a developer, work on the items in the sprint backlog, and attend the daily scrum. True or false? So this is not recommended, but it is true. There is no rule saying that the product owner cannot be a developer as well. Take into consideration that this practice is not recommended, as mixing the accountabilities can lead to other problems, such as lack of focus or neglecting one accountability in favor of others. Alright guys, we are done with the product owner quiz. Now the next one is developers quiz. Alright guys, question 1. A typical Scrum team that works on a software product has at least one QA engineer to independently verify that every increment meets the definition of done. True or false? The answer is false, because Scrum recognizes no titles, no subteams, and hierarchies regardless of the work being performed, including testing. The Scrum Guide version 2020 explains within a Scrum team there are no subteams or hierarchies. It is the responsibility of the developers to ensure that each increment meets the definition of done. Alright guys. Question 2. Who is responsible for turning the product backlog into potentially releasable increment? Option A, the developers, but only if the Scrum Master is happy with the technical solution proposed. Option B, the developers. Option C, the Scrum Master. Option D, the product owner. So who is responsible for turning the product backlog items into potentially releasable increments? It's always the developers. Scrum Guide 2020 explains developers are the people in the Scrum team that are committed to creating any aspect of a usable increment each sprint. Alright. Next question. Scrum teams are cross-functional. What does this mean? Option A. Every Scrum team member has all the skills required to create the product. This is useful in case somebody is absent. Option B. Scrum teams can decide which skills they want to learn. Option C. The Scrum team as a whole has all the skills to create the product backlog. Last option is the right answer. The Scrum Guide 2020 explains Scrum teams are cross-functional, meaning the members have all the skills necessary to create value each sprint. Alright. Question number 4. Can the testers organize themselves as a sub-team of the Scrum team? Option A, yes, but only if the rest of the Scrum team agrees. Option B, yes, because the testing team is anyway external to the Scrum team. Option C, no, because the Scrum team is not responsible for the testing. Option D, no, because the Scrum team cannot have sub-teams. The right answer is there cannot be sub-teams within a Scrum team. Scrum recognizes no sub-teams in the Scrum team. Alright. Question 5th. Who should decide which approach and tools to use for testing the increment? It is always the developers. The developers of the Scrum team. The developers building the product should decide which is the best approach to test the increment. Alright guys. Next question. What is the desired size of a Scrum team? It is always 10 or fewer people. The Scrum Guide explains the Scrum team is small enough to remain nimble and large enough to complete significant work within a sprint, typically 10 or fewer people. Alright. Next question. A Scrum team has 15 people from different departments within the organization. Is this allowed in Scrum? Option A, yes. There are no restrictions, only recommendations. Option B, yes, but only if the Scrum Master agrees. Option C, no, the group of people needs to be divided into 2 Scrum teams. So the right answer is yes, there are no restrictions, only recommendations. The Scrum Guide recommends that not having more than 10 people in a Scrum team and explains the risks. However, this is not a hard rule and there are cases when it makes sense to have a large Scrum team due to the complexity of the work and the skills required. Next question. What should the developers do if they are facing technical issues while building the product? Option A, integrate external developers in the team until the issue has been resolved. Option B, inform the management. Option C, inform the Scrum Master. Option D, find a way to address the issues and come up with a possible solution. So guys, the right answer is find a way to address the issues and come up with a possible solution. Technical challenges are common while working in agile environments. The developer should have all the know-how needed to build the product without relying on external help. They need to self-organize and find a solution. They may ask others for advice, but nobody external tells them how to do their work. Alright guys. Question number 9. One of the developers does not know what to work on next. What should they do? Option A, ask the product owner for more work. Option B, ask the Scrum Master for guidance. Option C, work on other tasks that are outside of the sprint backlog. Option D, discuss the situation with the rest of the developers as soon as possible. Option E, wait for the product owner to assign a new task. Option F, wait for the daily scrum. So the right answer is discuss the situation with the rest of the developers as soon as possible. The developers agree on how to perform the work in sprint backlog. Question number 10. Each developer is accountable only for the work they perform. Should a defect occur, the respective developer who introduced the fault is fully accountable. True or false? It is always false. All developers are accountable for the work performed, even if it is distributed among them. There are no handoffs between the developers and Scrum. Question 11. The developers are directly accountable for maximizing the value of the product. The answer is false. It is the responsibility of the product owner to maximizing the value of the product. This is the accountability of the product owner. Alright guys. Question 12. Who has the final say on how work in the sprint backlog is accomplished through the sprint? It is always the developers. Okay. Alright guys, we are done with the quiz on developers. The next one is Scrum Master quiz. Alright. Guys, we'll take up Scrum Master quiz in the next video. Thank you for watching. Please do subscribe to the channel.